Hey, how's it going? Forgot to hit on. So, I have some cards to read, but my God, I was just going and going for so long. Okay, so I've been having an experience similar to what I had before COVID. And before COVID, what had happened was about 2 years before, I started having dreams about masks, all different kinds of masks. None of them a surgical mask. And I was trying to figure it out, and I was guessing and trying to logic it, and then none of it, like, it never made sense. And that went on for a year, and then it stopped. And then the next year went by, and I completely forgot about it. And then COVID happened, and masks world. So this is different because I didn't have a dream about this. I just started noticing duality, twos, pairs. Like, it started, I think, when I was watching the Apple TV series Severance, because it is loosely based on, I'm going to give a loose synopsis of it. It's, there's a company in this town, and boy, it's like a real company town. And to work at this company, it's kind of like owned by a religious cult. It kind of looked like by the time I got to the end of the first season. But they have all the secrecy, and so when you work there, you undergo severance, which is like it's like a fracturing of your psyche. And the thing that really caught my attention about it was the way that the people, when they're at work, that's their innie, and when they're not at work, they're out. So they're an outie. They're out like in their regular life, and neither remembers what the other one's doing when they're the innie or the outie, and they're so fractured that they begin to resent the other self as like a whole, like they're like, it's not even me, it's a whole other person. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's okay. Obviously, the schism or whatever is starting to happen, but they were like, they would imagine that their other selves were doing all this crazy stuff that they totally were not doing, like imagining that there were people that they absolutely were not. And I think that was like, because their like brains, their minds were split, it like just let loose anything holding back, like all flights of fancy, and that's enough. Like, I think that pretty much covers what was happening in that respect, in my opinion. But it's like one person, also two people. So like more things happened after that. Like, I just was seeing duality everywhere. Like, I'd have like a tarot card I'd pick up, and I'd look at just duality. And it was like divine masculine, divine feminine, night and day, flip-flop. And then, and Gemini, that came up. Oh, and Janus, the god, which, here, I hope I still have this tab, because it's, what I found is going to make sense a little bit when I get a little bit further along here. So, Janus, Janus. What is Janus the god of? In ancient Roman religion and myth, Janus, I guess it's pronounced Janus. Okay, my bad, pardon. Anyway, Janus is the god of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages, frames, and endings. He is usually depicted as having two faces. So I'm chuckling very much about gates and transitions and doors, and the only thing they left off was portals. which I've kind of been talking about a lot, but because there's like all these new things happening, and every new thing that we're hearing and experiencing becomes a new portal to step through, because, well, that changed me somehow. Let's see, I wrote some notes. I'm just going to read them. Oh, well, no, I'm not finished. I mean, I'm still looking at the notes, but then I started watching Amazon Prime's new Batman adventure called Cape Crusader, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm going to link it to the video, but it was the whole season. I watched the whole season. It started on Friday and I finished today, which is pretty good because I thought I'd just blast through it on Friday. But there was, God, I really don't want to spoil it at all. But it's a throwback to like characters you would have seen on like the Batman 66 live action show. Unusual. And then there was a character, Two-Face, which I don't think you've ever stopped seeing since he arrived in the books. This is a different take on Two-Face, a little bit. But the story was just really involved, and I was like, man, that sounds so much like what I just keep seeing all the time, like all these pairs and duos things. And I was like, okay, what is happening? What's going on? And so, you think the obvious things, or I was thinking the obvious things, like I mentioned, easy, but mainly, first and foremost, to use a phrase that just makes me grit my teeth, but first and foremost, I was thinking, I'm seeing like all this Gemini, Two-Face, Janus thing, and it's like, we, especially online, which is where a lot of us are interacting these days, a lot of business is happening there, and just a lot of people online, like I am right now, expressing themselves about various things. And I always say this, we present our best face, well, everywhere where we don't know anyone, everywhere where we're not at home, you know what I mean? Like, when we're putting it on, for when we walk out the door, our persona. And then there's that, and that's kind of what everyone thinks you are. And like, I mean, superficially, sure, but even when people get to totally know you, you think that they don't actually, because you always have something, this other face that's not 100% you. And I guess that's not an easy thing to present all the time. But I think, like, more and more, you can't be having the false face. So, okay, I think I have said all I need to say about that, and I can start talking about cards. So I wanted to pull animal cards. I actually pulled these yesterday. It took me a while, because I was like, okay, there's something else going on here that I need to have before I start recording this. So it finally came, and I will get to it. But I'm going to talk about the two faces first. So I pulled some, well, I meant to pull a card from the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck, but 3 jumped out about this way. Okay. And so the first one was peacock. As a saying, when someone is being a peacock or peacocking around, what do we mean? Getting all flashy and showy to make an impression like the males do. And I don't know if everyone realizes this about, it's true of a lot of birds, I think, but the peacock is the male is the flashy, showy one that's trying to get the female's attention and attract her. Females are pretty plain Jane. But I just thought it was interesting that, hi, this is a face and whole thing I'm putting on to impress. Which is, what was I just saying? We put on our best face when we want to appear a certain way, not necessarily the way that we are 100% all of the time. And so here was another one of those cards I pulled out, and all I saw was the moon. I'm all night and day. I mean, come on, that's like smack you over the head night and day, but that's only part of the picture. Oh, the icon at the top there, the triangle. Gosh, can you tell? Okay, you can. There with the line through it indicates the air sign. So, you know, that involves some preparation, some thought processing. You know, like, I am going to go out and I'm going to do this thing that is going to make me appear in a certain way for a certain reason. Hyena is, I mean, it's what you see is what you get. And, well, here I am snickering. The hyena has the mocking laugh, like, oh my gosh. And it's smiling too. So, I guess the Joker animal, but also not what it appears in many ways at all. Like, you could look at a hyena and think, okay, well, it's canine, and so, you know, it's got those teeth for renting flesh, tearing flesh, like a predator. But they're not a predator, actually. They're a scavenger, so that's interesting. But I've seen them get pretty aggressive as a group and harass whoever's like the predator, like harass them to hurry up and finish eating that prey so we can scavenge the leftovers. So you have to kind of look a little deeper at a hyena, like always smiling and laughing. That's thinking of the Joker, keeping with the whole Batman theme. But I mean, they're not, like, if you look at them like some kind of wolf or dog or coyote or something, I mean, maybe they have similarities, but the scavenger thing is, well, it's not a predator, so I think they can be. I mean, they can fight and stuff. They're known to do things like that. You just, I don't know, I guess it's just a way of saying, like, there's more to the picture than meets the eye. Now this one, I still don't know. Oh, fire sign here. So, like, I was talking about trying to hurry up the predator to, like, rush the meal so they can get their ends, bits and pieces. Fire sign, like a little aggressive, a little excitable, a little hysterical. And so the last animal card was earthworm, which, I mean, at the top there you can see the upside down triangle with a line through it, and that indicates the earth element. So grounded, and the little rainbow in the back here is like for me, it's like you're all happy and content when you're grounded. And I mean, speaking personally, when I feel my most self, I am grounded. Like, I am safely rooted somewhere where I feel safe and at home to, I don't know, just be myself and expose myself as the the worm in the brain driving somebody around. Not that. I'm just joking. You know, it's symbolic. It's like these things move like peristalsis outside of a body, and they look like some kind of gut too. If you've seen them, I don't know why that made me think of that. What made me think of that? Well, other than the worm and the shape, but the way they move in and out of the earth, I don't know, that comes to mind. Why? I don't know, it's like, I guess it is kind of like peristalsis, because the way they move like in the earth, they just eat right, it just goes right through them. They eat their way forward, you could say. And that's interesting. I don't know if this has anything to do with anything, but when I have the food out on my deck, the kibble for the strays, the slugs also come and eat that. And I was out there earlier thinking about I saw this recipe, or, well, I mean, it was this whole process, but it was to make escargot like at home. And what you do is you capture some snails or slugs, because I lived in LA then. If you saw a slug, it was a rare occasion. Here, they're all over the place, and you never see a snail with a shell. I think I may have once or twice. Anyway, without giving up my location, the recipe called for capturing some snails and then putting them in like a clean, dry box with some cornmeal and just letting them run through and eat to their heart's content of cornmeal, and basically clean their whole bodies out. Like, you put them in the cornmeal and then you, I don't know, let them go for a day or however many hours, and you take them out and change the cornmeal, and just keep doing that until you feel like it's clean. They're clean. I don't know. So, okay, I don't know what that had to do with anything, but there, now you know how to clean, you know, non-organic, your DIY escargot. No one's gonna do that. You never know. Alright, so I pulled two other cards from the Messages of Cosmic Oracle deck. And the first one is, your life is so special, treat it with loving care. Well, I feel like, oh my gosh, hold on a second. Why? Your life is so special. Treat it with loving care. Well, that makes me wonder if we don't go through all of this peacock business to protect and hide that vulnerable, soft inner self. And not just hide it, though. I think it's also talking about, oh my gosh, okay. Okay, here's the connection with the slug and the cornmeal. Treat it with loving care. You want to, like, well, I mean, in a perfect world, you want to treat yourself as best you can in order to have like the best physical self you can, which would be that whole treating your body like a temple thing. And that doesn't just go for what you put in it or like what packaging you put it in. It also means, you know, not eating crappy food, preparing it yourself from scratch. And yes, by all means at home, shed all of your carapace and let the soft bone little self be, because that is also like a self-care thing, because you can't just be on all the time and also just hiding behind this if this is not you, I would think it would be a chore to just be doing that all the time. And then where are you? When do you just get to relax and be you? And so you want to take time for yourself, take care of yourself, and I mean, maybe limit those unhealthy impulses, because it will be better for you and everyone around you, and that makes the whole world better. Live a little bit by little bit. Do your part. Okay, and so the next card is, when you find something that excites you, go all in and enjoy the ride. Yeah, everyone should if they can, but another good reason to do this is that if it's good for you, it's going to be good for everyone else around you. Like, I don't know, good and happy brews more good and happy, and the opposite does the same. So I think that's kind of talking about like finding your happy thing, happy spot, happy place, and it can be daunting, I guess. Like maybe what you want to do seems like out of reach, or you don't have time for it, or maybe you're just finding a million reasons like why you can't right now, and you don't want to do that until you're too old to do it, like physically, whatever it is, or you don't want to just have that I shoulda feature, because that sucks. Like, if you're gonna fail, but try. So you can't really find something that excites you enough to go all in until you're ready to like understand that failing or it not going exactly the way you think is part of the journey and may lead you to the next better step. Like, it's hard. Good grief. It's hard to get started to do something that you want to do that you have not done because you're afraid. But man, I mean, I wait until I'm pretty old to start doing the things that I've always wanted to do, and I'm actually doing them. And I'm just saying, you don't want to like keep waiting until you never got around to it. You would just feel terrible. And then if you're well enough to sit around just going, oh my God, I didn't do it, I should have done it. Like, do it. Find the thing. Find the something that excites you and go all in and enjoy the ride, including the failure. Sometimes that happens. I mean, it has to have happened in other instances in your life. So I'm going to finish out here with the other oracle deck I have that I don't use very often, but it's a very black and white deck. So did I get to the other thing. Okay, so I don't remember. So the thing that finally like let me know, like, okay, you can stop thinking about the things in pairs that only go so far, and were having me go, okay, now what? Okay, I get it. Two faces, maybe more. You know, presenting one thing and hiding another, like good and evil. I get it. What else? Watching YouTube, and this video comes up, and the first thing I see is a picture with Christ, a painting. It's a painting. I guess I'll have to link that too. Did I already? Okay. Link what? Oh. Okay, so it was about paintings that there was like a fad of them in, I think, 1600s and 1500s period in Europe. So like Renaissance era, I guess. And they were trying to present the Holy Trinity. And it became a trend to paint Jesus with three faces. And it's funny because it goes through like a triangle with three circles at each point. And the triangle is like another way of referring to Christ, because Christ is the tip of the pyramid. And then somebody moved on to just putting three faces on a head, and, and it was a Christ looking head, and yeah, it was a crazy thing. But the video is a trip. And so what came to me was less about the painting and it being hidden, hiding faces of Jesus, but it was that it's not just two faces. There's a third way. There's a third face, and that is the Christ consciousness. And I'm just going to read my notes real quick. I don't have that many of them. So, severed self, duality, DM, DF, flip-flop, night and day, Harvey Dent, Two-Face, Gemini, astrology, half of me. Oh, I didn't talk about that. When I was 26, I got brain tumors. That's why I'm in a wheelchair. So I'm not going to tell that whole story, but one thing that happened afterward when I got better, and because what happened is like I was paralyzed on my whole left side for a year. It just threw my life for a loop and changed everything. But I had a job as a bike messenger after a couple of years after I recovered, and I came into work to give the dispatcher something, and he was like in a slightly raised place where his whatever, sort of like that show Taxi. So I handed him whatever the thing was, and it was like a hot day, and he says, "Hey, why are you sweating under one arm?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "You're only perspiring under one pit. Why are you doing that?" And I was like, "Why am I doing it?" I had no idea I was doing it. And I guess it was just something that came after the being paralyzed. But I also realized that has to do with one side of me. So I was paralyzed on one side. So one side more or less worked. But you'd be surprised how useless one whole working side is when the other one's completely shut off. Yeah, I mean, just seriously, like my face was drooping. They thought I had a stroke. This was before they figured out what was wrong with me. They thought I had a stroke. They had all of these things that were wrong. And then they told me a bunch of things that proved not to be right. But I don't blame them, because they really didn't know what was going to happen. Because the thing I got, not many people got, and then I got it different from all of the other people. So they're like, worst case scenario, then if it's better, it's better. Can't lose. So anyway, yeah, half of me. Okay, so, and I just thought, really? That's another two thing. I was one person, pretty young, and I didn't know myself well. That's inaccurate. I knew myself as the person I used to be, but I couldn't get away fast enough from, for reasons. I wanted to put that life behind me. Challenging times, uncertain times, in some ways perilous times. Times of being too small, too young, too much the child to be taken seriously and left to deal with the situations and emotions without much instruction. And so I moved on and past it. A new me in a rush to be grown up, to catch up with a body doing new confounding things I wasn't ready for, leading to broadcasting unconscious signals that were making new problems to run into that I was also not ready for, to stuff down and compound the child from before, already swamped and whoa. One and one we put on a face, already swamped, and one we put on a face. Oh, front, a fake front. We become expert at that, if nothing else. The face we wear and the real one behind it that we mostly keep hidden, even when we have nothing to hide. It's don't pitch forward. Oh, okay. It's black and white, yes or no, as if there's no room for gray area or middle ground. But there is. There's cooperation, collusion, and coercion. Jumped right to extremes. And it amuses me that I leapt to a Trinity because it suggests, nope, screams the Holy Trinity. I'm referring to that three-faced Christ video. I wondered where I was supposed to go after all of the hammering by twos. Then the video that completed the circuit for me showed up in my feed. I knew I was being showed all these dual pairs, and I felt as if it were a dead end. I talked about that. I will link this video that came into my feed on YouTube, paintings the Vatican had hidden depicting a Christ with three faces on his head, and boom, there's a third way, the Christ consciousness way, a very Rosicrucian way, which means basically the way that Christ studied was to study a whole bunch of different religious disciplines, I guess you could say, like all over the world. From he was in India a lot, so Buddhism, Hinduism, he was there for a long time, so he studied a lot of things, and he did that all over the world, so he got like a very, very varied education, I guess you could say, theologically, more so than most people get today. But it's very much more mind expanding than just like whatever your lane of Christianity is, and I'm sticking with that because that's what I grew up with. It's not anyway. A very Rosicrucian way, one that can encompass and absorb more ways than three, yet one can three-way cross themselves. No one's saying otherwise. I'm saying there's more than three ways even. Like the fact that yeah, it suggests the Trinity, but it also suggested, oh, it could be more than two. Oh, well, then it could also be more than three. It being, wow, well, your face behind your outwardly facing face, if that makes sense. Your personal theology, your ideology, like, just in yourself. Obviously, like the picture says, you could have more than one face that is you. I think we can all relate to that one. So yeah, you can cross yourselves, three-way cross yourselves. Go ahead, no one's saying otherwise. More like that, and this, and what else? We get rigid. We don't want to rock the boat, even if it's long past time. Maybe we need to look past and step into new experiences and step through something like a rite of passage, becoming a new self. No one say to remember and reference was not allowed. What? A new self. No one says. Oh, no one's saying you can't go back and reference the old self. No one says that's not allowed. Just leave past in the past and move into newness with a lighter step. So, God, that was all garbled, but basically it was just saying, like, you know, going from the inner child that we talk about, like, I could just trying to like lay it out in a manner of steps, how you sort of leave the inner child behind, because life moves so fast. And I know when I was little, like, things happen to all of us that are traumatic, and it doesn't have to be that it's like somebody did something to you. Just life can be like, people go away, people die, pets die, you move. There's just like so many things, and then sometimes something really awful does happen, and that just becomes part of the soup that's you. So when I was a kid, like, you had to be seen and not heard, or you didn't speak until you were spoken to. Like, for a long time, that was like the way that you were dealt with as a child, and that didn't leave. Like, I was getting in trouble all the time because I would have something to say or a question or something. Oh shoot! Oh no, do not fall! Oh my goodness! Why do I ever put cards there? Oh my goodness. I pulled some cards the other night and then forgot to put them away. Oh my God. There's a bad space where cards can fall and maybe never be recovered. So anyway, for whatever reason, like, things happen. Like, when I was little, no one really was listening if I was saying, hey, you know, this really, like, I could go to a more complex thing than saying this scared me. Like, I could really talk, and I think that was in a way off-putting to the adults. Like, they didn't know what the hell to tell me. They barely knew the basics. Like, if you were scared, they're like, well, don't be scared, nothing's there. Well, that's not always true. You just can't see things that a kid can see when you're not a kid. Sometimes you kind of grow out of it. But I'm saying that things happen and then they're not really dealt with, and then it just compounds over the years because you don't really get around to dealing with it until you're an adult in a lot of cases, or at least, you know, in the era that I grew up in. So that's how you have that wounded child, that inner child that needs attention, that sometimes they need the attention so bad it kind of starts screwing up your life. Okay, so that's I think that's all I want to say about that. But so back to the oracle cards that I started to pull out. Oh, now they're all spilled everywhere. Okay, so I just wanted to ask a final question of these, or I ask it a question. Just on the duality, and now we know that we don't have to be trapped in these little mazes with like boxes on both ends. You know, like two can become three, and 4 and 5 and more. That's another thing duality can do beyond just be two. So okay, so in this duality, I can think of several things that have found like a third direction. But I'm talking about the faces. So the faces that we show are not necessarily false. I would say that they're just not fully filled in. And that tells me that the faces that we show are important coming up. So I guess we're going to be seeing a lot more, not more reality, false faces sort of pulled away, and what's underneath. All right, I don't really know what to even ask it, but I'm thinking of current events, changes that have happened, people that are wildly happy, people that are wildly not happy, people being faced with, oh my God, faced with surprises, like that person is not who I thought they were. I accepted a lot of promises, and now I'm finding out that the warnings that I was trying to ignore are actually true. So that's what's coming. Well, that's what's gonna still be coming because it's already started. All right, here we go. We're gonna put our best face forward, and how are we gonna do? Just everybody, no matter what their stripe is here in America. It's the best face forward gonna be the one that shows us the way to the light. We all have those faces, but we all have to be together. So okay, here we go. Are the faces gonna show good to us? Oh, wait, I turned it over and there was no need. Oh gosh, there's a rune on here too. Okay, so the card is reconsider. So the moon card, that's talks about, I think on every kind of card you're gonna pull, it talks about that period where you see things differently, and you see things, they could be more scary to you, or they could be more beautiful to you, but what you're seeing is not the reality necessarily, or the whole reality. So it's like a clouded vision. And boy, I wish I had a book so I could tell you what that rune, well, it's like an 8, so I want to say that it's house. House is home. House is you, your real face. Should I pull another one? I think I will. And This card is listen to your intuition. Okay, I'm gonna say that that's an answer to my question about the first card, so I think I got that right. And well, it's not a definitive answer either way, but this does tell me that you have a chance to like consider what face you're going to put out there, and we tend to live by those faces, so I'm going to go hopeful with the H too, or H as well. I'm not trying to get any numbers in there, but hopeful also that coming home to ourselves and maybe having a word with those kids that are sort of waiting to be attended to by our adult selves. Oh, and it's it gives some little pink flowers, so thank you for the little child. And there's the moon again, but so I'm gonna go with the wisdom of the owl for this one in the moon, because it's not just the moon being all like spooky and unclear. It's also you can have some wisdom by the light of the moon too, if we're just gonna go with metaphors here. Yeah, let's just go with metaphors. Your intuition is always going to send you in the right direction. It's going to always tell you the right thing to do. What you have to do is listen. And I guess listening is just a theme, but like that inner child that didn't get listened to in the past, now's the time. That's what my intuition is telling me, because it works with what I was saying. There you go. All right, I think I'm finished. Thank you and good night.